Good morning to all of you. Today we are going to learn in the banking theory and practice subject 5th unit, that is the negotiable instruments. First of all, we will be learning about negotiable instruments, the definition of it, and then later on the importance of it, etc. and etc. Now, what do you mean by negotiable instruments? Many documents are used in the modern commercial world. Negotiable instruments have great significance in modern business world. These instruments have gained a prominence as the principal instruments for making payment and discharging business obligations. A negotiable instrument is a transferable document. You can transfer from one person to other person which satisfies certain conditions. These instruments pass freely from hand to hand and thus form an integral part of the modern business mechanism. The law relating to negotiable instruments in India is contained in the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. Regarding the definition, negotiable instrument means promissory note, bills of exchange or check payable either to order or to bearer. This is given by the Negotiable Instruments Act under the section 3013. Okay. Next, one more definition will learn. Negotiable instruments is one of the property in which is acquired by anyone who take it bona fide and for a value notwithstanding any defect in title of the person from whom he took it. That means this is being said by K.C. Wells. A negotiable instrument is one which is by a legally recognized custom of trade or law, transferable by delivery or by endorsement and delivery, without notice to the party liable, in such a way that A. the holder of it for the time being may sue on it in his own name, and B. the property in it passes free from equities to a bona fide transferee for value notwithstanding any defect in the title of the transfer. Therefore, from all these definitions, what do we mean by a negotiable instrument? It is a transferable document either by the applicable of the law or by the custom of the trade concerned. The special feature of such an instrument is the privilege it confers on the person who receives it bona fide and for value to possess good title thereto, even if the transferor had no title or had defective title to the instrument. Now coming to the negotiable instruments and its features. The first one is free transfer. The negotiable instruments are easily and freely transferable from one person to another. That means what? The ownership of the property in the instrument may be passed or by mere delivery. The transferability is an essential feature of a negotiable instrument. That means what? We can easily transfer from one person to another one. Next one is transfer free from defects. This is the most important characteristic of a negotiable instrument. It confers absolute and good title on the transferee who takes it in a good faith for value or without notice of the fact that the transferor had defective title thereto. A person who takes a negotiable instrument from one another or from another person who had stolen it from somebody else have absolute and indisputable title to the instrument provided he receives the same for value and in good faith without knowing that the transferor was not the true owner of the instrument. Such a person is called the holder in due case and his interest in the instrument is well protected by the law. Next one is right to sue. The transferee, who is legally called the holder in due course, is entitled to sue upon the instrument in his own name. Thus, he can recover the amount of the instrument from the party liable to pay thereon. The next one is no notice to transfer. A negotiable instrument can be transferred any number of times till the date of its maturity. The person who is having that will have the rights. The holder of the instrument need not give any notice of transfer to the transferor or any other person liable for payment of the instrument. Next is presumptions as negotiable instrument. A negotiable instrument is always subject to certain presumptions which are applicable unless contrary is proved. Last one is the credit of the party. The credit of the party who signs the instrument is pledged to the instrument. Therefore, such instrument will never be dishonored normally. So these are all the features of the negotiable instrument. Now, coming to the types of negotiable instruments. Under these types of negotiable instruments, there are three main categories. That is, the first one is the promissory note. Promissory note is an unconditional document in which the drawer promises to pay the amount stated in it after a definite period or on a demand to pay. That is, to pay on or on his order to the bearer. It is a written promise made by one person to pay certain sum of money due to another person or any other legal holder of the document. According to Section 4, the Indian Negotiable Instruments Act 1881, a promissory note is an instrument in writing containing unconditional undertaking signed by the maker to pay a certain sum of money to or to the order of certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. The person who makes the promise that is, the person who makes the promissory note and promises to pay is the maker of the instrument, and the person to whom the payment is made is the payee. Thus, there are two parties in a promissory note. The first one is the payer, the second one is the payee. Now, the essential features of the promissory note is it has to be in writing. The promissory note is to pay must be in writing. Okay, an oral agreement to pay a sum of money is not at all considered as an instrument. The second one is promise to pay. The promissory note must contain a promise to pay. A receipt of money does not amount to promissory note. Simply, if we are having the note that we received so and so money, that will not going to be an instrument of promissory note. There has to be a promise that so and so date I am going to pay you this much of money. This is the second feature of a promissory note. Then the third one is definite and unconditional. The promise must be definite and unconditional. That is, the payment should not depend on the happening of some event. If suppose, for example, a promise to pay is not unconditional, if it depends on an event which is certain to happen, or it depends on an event which is certain to happen through the time, that is somewhere around. Now it is there, tomorrow it may not happen. No, it should not be like that. Definitely, for example, if X promises to pay a sum of 50,000 after the death of Z, or A promises to pay at a particular place or after a specified time. Like this, we can say that these are the features of the promissory note. Payable in terms of money. Always it should be payable in terms of money. The promissory note must be payable in money and money only. That means what? If the instrument contains a promise to pay something else other than money or something in addition to money, it cannot be said as a promissory note. Then the next one is amount specified in certain terms. A promissory note should specify money payable in certain terms. For example, I promise to pay 10,000 to X, or any other person authorized by him is certain. I promise to pay 10,000 and all other sums due is uncertain. So this is the one. Next one is signed by the maker. The promissory note has to be signed by the maker of that particular note. And the other feature is adequately stamped. A promissory note must bear necessary stamps as specified under the Indian Stamps Act and has to fulfill the formalities like the number, date, place, and consideration. So, these are all the features of a promissory note. For example, one promissory note, if it is on a blank document, then rupees 50,000 1 month after the date I promise to pay Mr. Raj or his order the sum of rupees 50,000 for value received. Then if it is signed and stamped duly, then this could be said as a promissory note. The second one is bills of exchange. A bill of exchange, popularly known as a bill, is defined under Section 5 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. It is an instrument in writing containing an unconditional order signed by the maker directing a certain person to pay a certain sum of money only to or to order to of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. It is a written document. It is an acknowledgement of the debt. The creditor prepares a bills of exchange which is accepted by the debtor. Okay. So, there are three parties to a bills of exchange, namely drawer. Drawer means what? Who gives the order to pay or maker of the bill. Drawee means the party who pays the amount of the bill to the payee, and the payee to whom the amount of the bill is paid by the drawee. The drawer himself can be payee of the bill. Now, what are all the features of this bills of exchange? First one is, the essential feature is, it must be in writing. That means, it must be noted on the face of the documents. The second one is, it must contain an order to pay. The amount should be expressed in both words and in figures. The third one is, the date on which the amount of the bill is to be paid should be specified properly. It can be stated as a certain number of days after an event, such as a shipment or receipt of the delivery, etc. Next one is, the order must be unconditional. It should not have any conditions. It must be signed by the drawer and accepted by the drawee. So, these are the features of bills of exchange. Now, next one, when we come to see the checks. Check is a document. It is, everybody, you go to the banks and there you see a check is nothing but it is a document of a very important document in the business world. It is very safe and easy to handle for payments and withdrawing money from the bank. Actually, the commercial banks today enjoy the privilege of printing money in the form of checks. A check can be printed on a piece of paper. This check currency, we can say, is not a legal tender money but can be converted into cash at any time. Checks are drawn against the funds in the hands of the banker. They act as currency notes in these days. The check is very popular in almost all the places of commercial importance because of its merits. It is cheaper to print a check than a currency note. A check is drawn for any amount. It can be crossed to ensure safety, and since the name of the payee is clearly drawn on the face of it, a paid check itself acts as a voucher. A check, being a negotiable instrument, can be passed from one hand to another hand easily, and so it has become a popular mode of payment. A check is the most economical and safe method of money transaction because the transfer cost is very low and also the possibility of loss is also minimum. When we come to see the definition of it, a check is a bill of exchange drawn on a specified banker and not expressed to be payable otherwise than on demand. This definition is being given by the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. Now, a check, therefore, is an unconditional order in a writing addressed by a customer with a signature to the by asking to requiring to pay on demand a certain amount of money or a sum of money to the or in order to give else to a specified person or to the bearer of the instruments. Check is a bill of exchange with two additional qualifications. First one is it is always drawn on a specified banker, and second one is it is always payable on demand without any days of grace. Okay. Now when we are coming to the salient features of a check, first one is instrument in writing. A check must necessarily be an instrument in writing. Oral orders do not constitute a check at all. There is no specific rule regarding the writing used to be used on checks. It may be done by means of pencils, pens, or any other printed matter, but it should be on writing. The second one is an unconditional order. That means what? That check, whatever is being issued, it should not be on request, or there should not be any condition kept for that particular check. If any condition is attached to the order, the instrument itself can no longer be called a check. It is essential that the word order or its equivalent must be used in the check. Generally, the order to a bank is expressed by the word pay. Pay sends an amount to this person or that person, like that. Next one is on a specified banker. A check is always drawn only on a particular banker. Usually, the name and address of the banker is clearly printed on the check leaf itself. It is advisable that the full name of the bank is mentioned in the check. For example, State Bank of India, you have to write as not SBI but fully State Bank of India. A check drawn on a particular branch of a particular bank cannot be encashed at another branch of the same bank unless there is an agreement between the two parties. The next one is payee to pay must be certain. In order that a check must be a valid one, what it should be, it must be made payable to the order of a certain specified person or to his agent or the bearer thereof. The payee is the person to whom the amount of the check is payable. Therefore, the payee must be a certain person. He may be a human being or an artificial person. That is the body corporate, example, a company or an authority, etc. The next one is a certain sum of money. A check is usually drawn for a definite sum of money. Indefiniteness has no place in monetary transactions. Any phases like less than rupees 100 only or above rupees 200 only does not give a clear picture or a concrete idea to the parties concerned, and it will be rendered that the check is invalid. So it has to be specified that so much amount of money has to be paid to the other person. The next essential feature of the check is payable on demand. A check is always payable on demand. Although the drawer of the check has not specified any particular time or a period on such payment in the check, the check must be presented to the banker for a payment within a reasonable time. Next one is signed by the drawer. A check must be signed by the drawer or any person, okay, duly authorized by him. In case of an illiterate person, his left hand thumb impression is to be affixed on the check in lieu of his signature. The banker should exercise great care and caution in paying check bearing such impressions or marks. Next one is to be signed by the drawer. That means that has to be signed by the drawer. The next one, payable on demand. Okay, it has to be paid on demand. These are all the features of checks. Okay, and today I have explained to you what is the negotiable instrument, the meaning of it, the definition of it, and what are all the types of negotiable instruments and the features of it. Okay, thank you, girls. Thank you.